What's going on, Washington fans? I am Josh Taylor, and welcome to Bleacher Report, where we're focusing on the trade deadline for the NFL, which is October 31st this season. That's right. It's right on Halloween, so maybe we'll see some last-minute spooky trades. But after yesterday's game, another embarrassing loss to the New York Giants. 14-7, by the way. How do you only score 7 points in the NFL? This isn't the 80s anymore. We can't even score more than 7 points against the Giants, by the way. And that stadium was dead. Like, there's no excuse. I don't care if it was a road game. No excuse not to win that game yesterday. So my question after that game, right now we have pick 14 in the draft. I know it's very sad to be looking at. I was doing mock drafts all day yesterday after that loss. If you want to follow me at Josh Taylor FB on Twitter, and then my YouTube channel is JTFB. You can search Josh Taylor FB on there as well. I'll be doing some draft content coming up heavily if this keeps going at this rate. But like I said, we have pick 14 right now. We are 3 or 4 on the season. What's going up, y'all? Curry, EB, Washington football team. Yes, moves need to be made. 100% agree with you. Moves have to be made. We know that no one's going to be fired right now, sadly. So I have a big question for y'all. But like I said, we are 3 and 4 right now. If we lose to the Eagles, I hope y'all know we are 0 and 3 in the division. That's going to be tough to come back from. I hope y'all know that. When we lose to the Eagles next week, we're going to be 0 and 3 in the division and very, very unlikely to make the playoffs because of that. Because once again, a really bad start to the season, which we have done all 4 seasons with Ron Rivera so far. That slow start, and then we're going to be competitive in the second half of the season, guys. Don't worry. We're going to try to fight for that playoff spot, and then we're not going to get there. Black Cat Curry says, my favorite Twitter follow. Appreciate that. Can we trade coaches? Even if we could, we're not going to get anything for them. So I'm going to go through a couple trade scenarios. Should we tank? What's up, Dougalicious? Wiley does suck. Worst O-line in the NFL history. I agree with you. It's really bad. But should we go on a fire sale? Should we just trade a couple players away? There's a couple I've been looking at. If you remember the stream I did last week, I had a couple trade scenarios. Mecole Hardman was a guy I wanted to trade for because our wide receiver corp is not doing anything outside of Terry. And by God, he goes to the Chiefs, and he's already making plays his first game back for them. So let me drop the first poll for y'all. Should Washington load up picks and trade players away? Now, there's a lot that goes with that. Obviously, the only question, only answers are yes or no. There's a lot that goes with that. Obviously, new ownership. If you think about it, if there's a new GM that comes in, new head coach that comes in. My thing is, first off, this last draft class, by the way, was a complete waste. We had a combined 9 snaps from Forbes and Quan Martin yesterday. And my guy, Jamal said it on Twitter today, like pretty much it was a waste of a draft class. This is the worst draft class I've ever seen, and it's going to be Ron's last one. Thankfully, it's got to be Ron's last one. There's no way he's making it out of this. So do you go ahead and start trading some of these players away? And I'm going to look at some free agent lists that we have going on. Like right now, I think we should just go and all in, just clean house. Like we need to start over. This team is so bad. This team is way worse than Jahan Dotson dropping a couple. This team is way worse than, Sam House taking a historic amount of sacks right now. This goes beyond that. Like, we genuinely are just a really bad team. We are a terribly coached team. Sam has a lot of growing pains he's going through right now. The play calling is terrible. The defense isn't living up to what it's supposed to be. All the investments we made into that defense is not living up to what it's supposed to be. Yeah, it was much better second half. But, guys, that was the Giants with Tyrod Taylor, all backups on their offensive line pretty much. Like, there's no reason. Like, the Bears game showed me that we are a really bad team. Like, we're not as good as we hype each other up to be every single season. The players we're hyping up on the field, they're not as good as we think we are. Lose for number 1. Josh did it with the 76ers. Yeah, he did with 76ers, but that's when he got the pick wasn't that good. But I'm not saying like tank for Caleb Williams, like go all that. But I'm just saying, like, honestly, like, I don't want to just win in a couple more games and be in the middle of the pack again and then starting all over again. But honestly, we're going to have to just clean house. We already know there's going to be a new GM. We already know there's going to be new head coaches. So why don't you go ahead and trade some players away before the deadline? Not saying everybody's going to be like calling for all of our players, obviously. But if you remember how they were saying the Broncos are going to be in like clean house mode, honestly, we need to do the same thing. We have a couple players who are untouchable. And in my opinion, that's like Terry, John Allen, Deron Payne, just because of what we've paid them and that they're actually good. But guys like Chase Young, I'm going to talk about, Montez Sweat, Antonio Gibson, a couple of these other guys. But let me just show you all real quick what this list looks like coming up for free agency for us this coming up off season. It's not good. Like, we're going to lose a lot of people regardless. So you have Curtis Samuel, who's only 27 and a half years old, whatever, getting paid $11.5 million this year. Kendall Fuller, still only 28, getting paid $10 million this year. Chase Young, Jacoby Brissett, Cody Barton, thank God, Cornelius Lucas, Montez Sweat, Jeremy Reeves, F.A. Obata, David Bada, Cleek Hudson, Tyler Larson, David Mayo, Antonio Gibson, Joey Slide, Jamison Crowder, Byron Pringle, Sadiq Charles, Brandon Dillon, Cam Curl, James Smith-Williams, Casey Toohill, and Curtis Brooks. So, like, we have a lot of free agents. And these are, like, a lot of these players are starters and key contributors. We're not paying every single one of these, especially with a new GM, with new ownership. It's not going to happen. So you're thinking, like, oh, we're going to go ahead. We're going to pay Cam Curls big money. I'm telling you guys, I don't think it's going to happen because of the new ownership. They're not going to just be writing checks for guys who aren't showing up on Sundays. Let alone, like, you need to show, like, hey, maybe we should keep this guy around. Maybe we should pay Chase Young. And Chase Young has been playing really good lately. So there's a lot that'll go into that. But still, you got to think about, like, Curtis Samuel, you're probably going to lose him to free agency. Should we go ahead and trade him right now? I don't know, because I think that'd be one of those guys where, like, if you lose him in free agency, you can get a comp pick coming up. Like, Curtis Samuel is good enough to where he can get you a comp pick. Kendall Fuller, I think this is a guy who's our best corner of the team, obviously. I think this is a guy that we need to pay and keep here for another year or two, especially if we do keep Forbes. Like, we need someone to get that guy right. Or maybe we go corner again in the draft. I don't know. But then Chase Young, Jacoby Brissett, Cody Barton, some of these guys, like, there's going to be some tough decisions. Cam Curl is our most consistent player. He started out the season really bad, honestly. He started out rough this season. But he played good yesterday. He's been getting better throughout the season. But at the same time, I think he's a top, one of the best safeties at his position in the league. I think he's one of the more underrated ones. But at the same time, as the new ownership group, as the new GM is going to come in brand new, say, hey, Cam, we're going to go ahead and just give you this big bag, man. That's not what happens. That's not a business decision that they're going to make. Maybe, I'm not saying trade Cam Curl. I think we should keep Cam Curl. But I'm just saying you have to think ahead. Like, I'm thinking big picture right now. That's how bad this team is right now. I'm thinking big picture. I'm not thinking, oh, we're going to beat the Eagles next week and we're going to be right back in it. No, that's not going to happen, y'all. The Eagles are going to smack us next week, and we're going to go to 3-5, and we're going to be in the middle of the pack again, and we're not going to make the playoffs. So, just being honest, there's a lot of Kyle Smith for GM. There's a lot of GM candidates and stuff like that. I might do a video stream on that too. Just talk about, like, possible hires and stuff like that in this offseason. Let's see. V Bautista says, keep Chase, Montez, Cam Curl, let Curtis Samuel go, move Fuller to nickel and free safety some. Not picking up the 5th year on Chase show that they don't see him there long term. Mike Hunt. I agree with it to a certain extent. I think they just wanted to see him get a actual full season healthy and see what he does production wise. But at the same time, Ron Rivera, like, Ron the GM, not even Ron the head coach, Ron the GM side of it, like, he's not gonna have any decision. Like, he's not gonna have any say in the long term things with this. Douglas just 06 says Chase, Cam Curl, Terry McLaurin, Payne, and maybe Curtis Samuel might be the only guys I would see attract any value. Exactly, and I'm not trading Terry. I'm not trading Payne. That's what I'm saying, guys. You got to think, like, we just paid John Allen like 2 seasons ago, whatever. We paid Ron Payne last season, and then obviously Terry. So I think those are, like, the 3 untouchable guys. But anybody else, if you want them, call. Like, Curtis Samuel, I love him. I think he's super underrated. I think he's good for us. I think he's been the 2nd best wide receiver on this team this season, obviously. But if someone wants him, like, if a team says, hey, we'll give you a 4th for Curtis Samuel, and I know that we're going to lose him in this offseason, go right ahead. So when I was doing mock drafts yesterday, I was doing some wide receivers like Troy Franklin out of Oregon and stuff like that. And people were like, why are you doing a wide receiver? Well, because Jahan Dotson's on a sophomore slump right now, sadly. I love Jahan. But we're probably going to lose Curtis Samuel in the offseason. You're telling me our third wide receiver is going to be who? It's going to be Dyami Brown, Pringle. Like, no, guys, we need help on this offense. We need help on the offensive line. We need help at tight end. We need a speed back because our running game sucks. I love Brian Robinson, but he can't get 20-something carries a game. And Chris Rodriguez is the same kind of player he is. We need some kind of speed back. Like, I wanted Izzy Abanikanda. I wanted Devon Chan. I wanted some of these speed guys that can get that home run play for you. Someone like a Raheem Mostert that can get it going. DeAndre Swift. Like, we should have traded for DeAndre Swift. What did the Eagles give up from, like, a 5th or a 6th round? That's a 5th or 6th round pick that we're not even going to use on a long snapper that can't snap. And then we trade up for an edge rusher who hasn't been active at all this season. So, like, this team has some business decisions to make, guys. Curtis Samuel to Buffalo for a 3. I don't think they would trade a 3 for him, especially because they have to pay him again next year anyways. Like, that kind of hurts. Let's give Tinsley a shot at wide receiver, RD49. I agree, man. I love Mitchell Tinsley. That's my dude. Knew him from Penn State. Keep in contact with him. Really good dude. Like, I was hyped he made the team. I think Tinsley needs to get more playing time. Because I'm telling y'all, like, we don't get enough production right now. Trade Curtis for a 4th or the 5th. So a lot of y'all agree that we should trade Curtis Samuel. That's surprising me. Because when I did the stream last week and I said Curtis Samuel to like the Chiefs before they got Mecole Hardman, or like the Panthers, they need help at wide receiver. They need to load up. Might as well get Curtis Samuel back over there. So there's a lot of options, but I'm telling you guys, there's a lot of free agents that's coming up off season. And I know the salary cap's going to go up, but you're not going to be able to pay all these guys. So like, look at these names of these lists of these guys. A lot of these guys are key contributors on this team right now. So let me get back to the screen here and just show y'all a couple that I have. So let me just check the polls real quick. Should Washington load up and trade some players away? So far, 83% says yes, 17 says no. So we're on the same page. Like, we're not making the playoffs this year, guys. Like, we're bad. Like, I don't know like how many times I have to tell y'all, but we are not good. But let me bring up my first conversation piece here. And it's a touchy one because there's a lot that weighs into it. Obviously, you have the fan side of stuff. You have the let me get rid of my overlay. You have the weight of a second overall pick. Then you have Montez Sweat, who's also taken in the 1st. Like, there's a lot that goes into this. Obviously, we love Chase Young. Chase Young's been the better ones of our edge rushers or pass rushing just in general this season, surprisingly. Like, I wanted to see that out of Chase this year. But at the same time, now that he's producing, now that he is healthy, what's that trade value like? His name is brought up all the time. You literally get online right now and say, hey, guys, who's the trade rumors right now in the entire NFL? Chase Young is a top 2. Like, right now, he is like the hot commodity piece for anyone that's writing up any kind of article on trade deadline or trade rumors or anything like that. It's, oh, yeah, Chase Young's going to the Bears. Chase Young's going to the Ravens. And that's fine. Like, I'm telling you guys, it's going to be a completely different look around here next season, and I'm glad. Like, we need it. We need to just get rid of all that leftover crap that we had, start over. Neither will get us much in a trade, says Commando Ron. I disagree. I mean, especially if you think about a team that's playing really well right now that just needs a little bit of help on the defensive line. Like I said, like the Ravens, they need another pass rusher because they can't stay healthy anyways. They need someone who can contribute, someone who's going to be making a legit playoff run and trying to win the Super Bowl. A team like that needs to get Chase Young. Or you can look at a team like the Texans, who are way overperforming. You have DeMeco Ryans, who's a really defensive coach. He knows how to coach pass rushing. He would love a guy like Chase Young to go opposite side of my guy, Will Anderson. So think about that. I'm not going to be mad if I wake up tomorrow and says we traded Chase Young. I'm not going to be mad at that because I'm telling you guys, what is the likeliness that we pay Chase Young? First off, what's he going to want to be paid? Because he was a number two overall pick. He's going to want top money. Are you willing to pay him long term? Because we've seen what that looks like. These guys on this defensive line, I'm not just saying it's all of them, but we've seen it. It's just this mediocre play, and then by God, it's the year that they're going to get paid. Now they decide to play well. I love Jonathan Allen. I think he's consistent. Deron Payne, he had a little bit of a slump, and then his best year was the year right before he got paid, and now he's playing well though. But a guy like Chase Young, like, he's going to want top dollar. I'm not willing to pay him that, and I'm sorry. Same with Montez Sweat. I think he's going to want to get paid pretty well. But can you keep both of those guys? That's my main question. Can you afford it, both of those guys? I don't think so. I think you can afford one of them. And I don't see that the new ownership group, I don't think the new GM, new head coach, whoever's here, whoever's running the operation, they're not going to want to pay both of these guys long-term money. Maybe you franchise tag one of them. Johnny _AX says franchise tag him or sign him to a 2-year prove-it deal. He's not going to do that. His agent's going to be like, do not sign a 2-year deal. We're going somewhere else. We're going to go get it back. Then you're going to lose both of them in free agency for absolutely nothing. Yeah, you'll get a comp pick for the next year. Whoop-de-doo. But that's it. I would much rather trade one or both, whatever. But then also, like, think about how deep we are on this defensive line. if we trade Chase Young, we saw Casey Toohill perform well. We've got guys like Andre Jones who looked really good when he actually got reps in the preseason. Like Andre Jones has played really well. Casey Toohill had 2 sacks in his first game coming in on limited snaps. Efe Obada is a guy who gets a lot of production as limited snaps. Like we have a lot of depth on the defensive line. More importantly on the edge rusher. KJ Henry is the guy we trade up for. Get him on the field, y'all. Let me see something. Rotate some fresh legs in. I'm sick and tired of seeing Montez Sweat and all these guys on the defensive line do the same thing every single snap. It's just bull rushing. And then Chase Young yesterday, who, like I said, he did play well, but for the most part, the one sack he had, no one was guarding him. And he just kind of like laid Tyrod Taylor down. Like, I need more out of this defensive line as a whole unit. So maybe you trade one of them away. Maybe you trade Chase Young because he was the number 2 overall pick, and you can get more back in investment, and you're not going to be able to pay him long term, let alone the new ownership group's not going to want to pay him what he's going to want. The cap increases every year. Keep both franchise one and sign the other, says It's Lays. You could franchise tag Chase Young, but I'm telling you, he is going to absolutely hate that. No, not only did you decline his 5th-year option, but you're going to franchise tag him the next year. I don't know if y'all know this, but a franchise tag is a slap in the face to a player. Like, players absolutely hate that. I've talked to agents. They think the franchise tag is the most insulting thing ever because you're just saying, hey, man, we're going to just rent you for a year. And if you get hurt, you get hurt. That's your fault. Like, it's all on you. Good luck. You might be done after that. You have no long-term stability. You have no long-term, like you're just a 1-year rental for us, and then we're going to get you out of here. We want you to perform well for that 1 year, though, and then good luck to you for the rest of the way. Players hate that franchise tag. And I promise you, if you tell Chase Young he's getting a franchise tag, he's not going to want that. He's not going to want to play because that's embarrassing. V. Bautista says he pushes the pocket back and defends. Weak side runs well. He would have had 2 sacks yesterday. I'm not sure which one you're talking about, but I will say, like, out of the 2, Sweat defends the run better. That's one thing that Chase Young needs to get better at. I think Chase Young understands the position he's in to know a franchise tag isn't bad, but still, as the number 2 overall pick, you do not want a franchise tag. Josh Jacobs, Saquon Barkley, all these players did not want the franchise tag as running backs. I'm telling you, Chase Young as a number 2 overall pick as an edge rusher is not going to want that. So let me drop this poll for y'all real quick. Should Washington load up picks and trade players away? 82% say yes, and 18% say no. So we're on the same page. Let me ask y'all this one, since y'all are saying it in the chat. Which should Washington trade? Chase Young, Montez Sweat, neither or both? I think both would be a little bold. Please don't give up on Jahan, Josh. I'm not giving up on Jahan. I love Jahan. I'm telling y'all, like, he's such a good dude. I think he's a really good wide receiver. I think he's still going to be an excellent wide receiver too for us. He's just going through a slump right now. The sophomore slump is so real, y'all. Like, it is an actual thing. Let's see. People talking about Christian Gonzalez and Forbes. And yes, like I said, this was probably the worst draft I've ever seen. Not even just by us, like by in general. When Ron came out and said that he drafted Quan Martin to come play backup, when he came out and said that like a couple weeks ago, I knew right away. Like, when the media asked him, like, oh, so what's your plan with Quan? He said, well, we drafted him and, it's coming here. And, we have a lot of good players at the safety position. It's just really deep. He's just going to be a good depth piece for us. There's no reason you draft that guy in the 2nd round then. Absolutely no reason. Absolutely no reason. There's so many more picks that so many better picks that could have set this team up and contribute right away. Half of the draft picks that we have this year are inactive every single week. Meanwhile, other teams are getting the most out of their guys. Like Puka Nacua is out there in the Rams tearing it up, breaking records as a late round draft pick. Like, it makes no sense to me. Jake Bobo for Seattle. Like, there's so many players that are playing well. Islay says everyone talks about Forbes, but why didn't he get to do that trade back or draft Brian Branch? Oh, we should have drafted Brian Branch, by the way. Ron got to go. We draft guys who don't touch the field or develop. Yeah, like, we get either lucky that they're like some random gem in the draft, like a Cam Curl, or like we don't develop. Like, I'm sorry, guys. Like, we have to just draft players that are already really good. And and that's been my motto, like, draft good players. You draft players for them to play. The fuck is Ron talking yapping about? I don't know. Like, Ron says the stupidest stuff. All right, next conversation piece. I got 2 more for y'all, and then we're gonna wrap it up. I think that we should go ahead and look, and I said this on the last stream as well. We need to look to trade Antonio Gibson. And you're like, well, what's the value? I don't care if we get a bag of chips for Antonio Gibson. He's not going to be on this team next year. Like I said, he's already a free agent. We're not going to pay him. I think that in the right system, under the right coaching, I think Antonio Gibson can be used correctly, and I think he can actually be somewhat of a weapon for a team. I don't care if it's the 5th, 6th, 7th. I don't care. Like, trade Antonio Gibson. We saw yesterday. ASAP Dev Gibson sucks too. LOL, trade him for whatever. Maybe a 7th. I was so off on Antonio Gibson. I did a video before the season saying that he was going to be this year's Jerick McKinnon. EB was going to just use him as a weapon. He was going to have like so many receiving touchdowns. Gibson's going to be like this monster. No, I was wrong. Antonio Gibson's not that guy. And I hate to say that. I love Antonio Gibson. But he needs to go somewhere where he can, play out in space, whether he is going to be a wide receiver, maybe put him in the slot, whatever, kind of like Rondale Moore kind of guy. Like, I don't know, but whatever he's doing here is not working. And I think that a team would want some kind of, skill position player, once again, someone who's maybe going on a run, maybe Buffalo, someone that, really wanted a guy like this. I'm not saying just like a third down back, but Antonio Gibson, I'm not saying he sucks, but I'm just saying right now for us, this is not what we need. The reason we got him is because we wanted him to be this elusive back. This guy was going to be really good in space, and he was going to come out of the backfield, and he was going to be like this home run player for us. And it's happened a couple times, but the biggest plays of his career have come from running back screens. The one against Buffalo, like there's so many plays where he's just like already out in space. We get it to him, but then we stopped doing that. We said, you know what, AG, just go ahead and run through the tackles, man, and let's see you fumble it like 20 times in 3 or 4 seasons. Like, that's just not it. And that's on us, honestly. That's on the coaching staff. So go ahead and trade Antonio Gibson away to a team that needs a skill position player that knows how to use them. Tyler's great too. Says, I could see the Steelers taking a risk on Gibson. Honestly, that's a good fit too. I said the Raiders last week because all they have is Josh Jacobs. And he's on a franchise tag, so he's not going to be there this year coming up unless Al Davis actually writes a check for him. And they have no help at the running back position. And I think Antonio Gibson would be really cheap. So you want to get help for Jimmy Garoppolo when he comes back from his bad back, that old man, or whoever's going to be your quarterback. Like, you need weapons outside of Davante Adams and Jacoby Myers here and there. I think Antonio Gibson will be a really good fit for the Raiders. I think the Raiders suck still. Al Davis isn't there. What's his name? What's the dude with the really bad haircut that's like back here? I forgot what his name is. But I think he'd be really good for the Raiders. I'd say the Raiders. Someone said the Bills. I think the Bills would be good. I think the Steelers would be a good fit too. But I don't care what it is. Like I said, you're going to lose this guy in free agency anyways. Make some calls. I don't care if we're the first ones calling. Like, when you get a girl's number, like, oh, should I text her out? Like, go ahead and text Mark Davis. Thank y'all, Mark Davis. God, why does he have that haircut, by the way? With all that money, he's out there like he was arguing with fans in the stands. My guy, fix your hairline, bro. Like something, man. Mark Davis. Biggest question mark in the NFL, if you ask me. No clue why he has a haircut. And by the way, that stadium is ridiculous. When I was in Vegas briefly, when I went to the Rose Bowl, I drove past the stadium. My God, give me something like that. Give me something like that here, please, Josh Harris. Give me that spaceship that they have out there. And it's not even like in Vegas. It's like right outside in the desert. It's really weird. But still, that place is beautiful. And they have a halftime show every game. It's like, oh, yeah, by the way, guys, we got I don't know. We got like Pink performing at halftime, by the way. It's like, what? Like, okay, I'll take it. But it is out in Vegas, and we're out in the middle of nowhere in Landover, that concrete jungle. But anyways, trade Antonio Gibson, man. Get something out of him at least. Then my last one, like I said, guys, I don't think that we just have all these good players that teams are going to be calling for. But I think there's some actual, like, these are all realistic. I think it's very realistic that we could trade Antonio Gibson for something. I think that it's realistic that we could trade Chase Young or Montez Sweat. But at the same time, like, Ron knows his job's on the line. And I think deep down, Ron somewhat knows that this is it for him. But I don't think that this team's going to be like, oh, we can't trade anyone away, guys. We're going to be competitive. Like, this ownership group has to know that, like, we're not good. We're not good. Like, I love when Magic Johnson sends out his little tweets, posts, or whatever you want to call it. And I was just waiting for it yesterday. But here's my last one. Go ahead and trade Jacoby Brissett. Why? Because one, he's in my opinion, one of the best backups in the NFL. But experience-wise, he's played under many systems. Like Jacoby Brissett is a known quarterback out there. That's just like, hey, if someone gets hurt, we need to bring in Jacoby Brissett. So trade him to a team that one just doesn't have that depth. That once again is going to be making a playoff run. Someone that's dealing with some injuries. There's a lot of quarterbacks hurt right now in the league, but I'm just saying, like, a team that's going to realistically go on a playoff run that just needs some kind of insurance at quarterback. I don't care. Once again, I don't care if it's a 5th, 6th, 7th. Trade him. If Sam Howell gets hurt, there's no purpose of this season. There's absolutely no purpose of this season. Trade Jacoby after this year. You can't trade Jacoby after. You have until October 31st to trade him. And then once the season ends, he's a free agent. He is on that free agent list. You cannot trade him once October 31st comes. Once that happens, he is gone, and you will get literally zero for him. Go ahead and trade him. Like I said, I don't care. The Sam Howell's development is not depending. Yeah, send him back to Cleveland. I agree, because Cleveland's good. Cleveland's good. There's no shot at PJ Walker. And Deshaun Watson cannot stay healthy, and he's not that good either. But yeah, I agree, Curry. Send him back to Cleveland. Are we winning 7 games? It says Be More Meeman. I was looking at the schedule coming up. I don't always agree with these, but someone said, I forgot what media source it was. Someone said that we have like the 4th hardest remaining schedule left. I mean, yeah, I agree, Mike. I said Jacoby to the Jets too last week. I think that'd be a good spot for him. Because they're a good team, and Zach Wilson sucks. His touchdown to interception ratio is awful. Head coach must go. Need help in the secondary is a must. And by the way, guys, I am not trading for a single player. Let me do the Donald Trump. I am not trading for a single player. I'm not giving up any picks. I want whoever comes up in here next season, GM, head coach, whatever, operation guy, VP, whoever comes up in here, I want him to have as many picks as possible. Get whoever you want, man, because the guy we've had drafted in the last few rounds, he sucks. And it shows on the field. Yeah, we got to sell, baby. We selling. Like, we got a for sale sign out front like the Broncos do. If you want them, come get them. There's a few untouchables, like how they have Patrick Surtain. We got Terry McLaurin, John Allen, and Dron Payne. Those are my 3 untouchables. You want Chase Young? Come get him. I do not care. You want Montez Sweat? Come get him. Who else you want? You want Curtis Samuel? Have him. Take Nick Gates with you too. Good God. I'm telling you guys, the free agency list is so long. We're not going to keep some of these players. And Jacoby Brissett's one of those guys. Send him away to a team who's going to need a quarterback in the playoffs and give them some kind of hope at making a run. Go ahead and get it done. Let them learn that system in the meantime, or maybe they need a starter right now. Get them out there. Send them to the Jets. Send them to Cleveland, wherever. Because like, if in all honesty, if Sam Howell gets hurt, what are we doing this season? Sending Jacoby out there to maybe get a couple more wins and dropping our draft. Now, I hate being that guy that says like, oh, I don't want to win games. But realistically, this season, the rest of the season for me is seeing what Sam Howell can do, seeing if he can break the record for sacks, by the way, which he's on pace to absolutely blow out the water. I mean, it says right now, Sam Howell's on pace to take 97 sacks this season. The record is 76, y'all. So the rest of the season, I want to see what Sam Howell can do. I want to see what Eric Bieniemy can do. If they can change some things around, I want to see what players want to be here and can actually show some effort. O-line needs help too. I'm not trading for anybody on the O-line. This is what Ron built. You're gonna watch it burn, Ron. You're gonna watch this offensive line burn the rest of the season. This is a really good draft class, says ASAP. This is a really good draft class on a lot of positions and a lot of positions that we need. And McKinnon said, trade Jacoby for Devontae or Max. Yeah, you're not getting anywhere close to that. This is a really good draft class for tackles, offensive line in general, interior defensive line. I mean, interior offensive line is kind of rough in this draft, but outside tackles, perfect draft. Linebackers, really good draft. Really good wide receivers. I think it's some underrated running backs. This is a pretty good tight end draft so far that I've kind of watched. But This is a really good corner draft too. Like there's a lot of, I'm telling you, this team's going to look completely different next year. And I'm ready for it. Like I'm so ready to just get out all the ugly, all the old. If we get a top 5 pick, would you trade for more picks? Says Hot Rod 90. That's a good question. And that's something I was struggling with yesterday, by the way. When I was doing these mock drafts I was like, man, should I trade back? Like if we have a top 5 pick, do we get a quarterback? Do we go like a Michael Penix or God, if Drake May's there, then it's going to be hard. It really depends on like what the rest of the season looks like. Do you give up on Sam? Do you give Sam some more time? Because you've seen the good, you've seen the really bad. Gerald Everett's not coming here. He's a big weapon for them. Yeah, Brock Bowers is going to be a top 5 pick. Marvin Harrison Jr. is going number 2 or number 3 overall. The Bears are likely going to have the number 1 and like number 3 pick, and they're done with Justin Fields. So it's going to be like Caleb Williams and like Marvin Harrison Jr. It's going to be like a crazy 1-2 punch. So like for us, if we are at 5, you have like a Olu Fashanu, you have Joe Alt, Brock Bowers, maybe like I said, a Penix, Bo Nix. I don't want Bo Nix or someone at quarterback. So it really depends on what you want. In my opinion, I want the future at left tackle for us. I don't care if you have to trade back and get your trade back into the first to get your quarterback, whatever. I don't care. Get Olu Fashanu and get Joe Alt. And that's what I'm saying, guys. Trade some of these players away. Get some more picks for this draft coming up. Because this is going to be a draft where we're like resetting our foundation. Like, yes, we have our Terry, we have our John Allen, we have our Dron Payne. But there's some other guys on this team. I'm telling you, they're not going to be here this year. I mean, next year. You're like, what the heck? Like, oh man, Josh is telling me like we're going to lose him in free agency. Like, I'm telling y'all going to be surprised. I told y'all Chase Roullier wasn't going to be here this year, and people were mad at me. I thought Logan Thompson's not going to be here either. Definitely not drafting a QB. Standing by Howell, says Ricky Stacks. I'm giving him to the rest of the year, but guys, this ownership group and this new regime is going to want that flashy quarterback that they can market, and they want that rookie who's just going to thrive. Sam's not their guy, so Sam's got to convince these higher ups, whoever it is, that he's the guy, and that's up for them to decide. They didn't draft Sam Howell. They didn't draft none of these guys. So just think about that. But I appreciate y'all. Like I said, follow me on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it, at Josh Taylor FB. And then I always upload all these streams so you can rewatch them onto my YouTube channel, JTFB, or just search at Josh Taylor FB on YouTube as well. I have some other videos as well. I'll be doing some coming up this week, and then have like a preview show and stuff like that. Then I'll be going live again on Bleacher Report right after the game to talk about how bad we look against the Eagles and why we lost. So I appreciate y'all stopping by, and I'll see y'all next time here on Bleacher Report. Peace.